doing is delving into the Center's Declaration of Principles, which are a group of positive statements that the Board of Trustees and Reverend Marjorie and a few of us put together a couple of years ago. They're intended to be just that, like a statement of mutually agreed upon principles to help guide us in running the center and making decisions on behalf of the center. Kind of an internal document. But I realized maybe a year or so ago, that they were also really great guidelines for life. So I added them into the Sunday service, and every Sunday we repeat them. But then I got to thinking that, most of you were not involved in creating the principles, so you may not really understand what they're about. So that's what we've been doing these past few weeks, is we've been exploring each one of these guiding principles and looking at them more in depth. If you recall, the first one was we provide everyone the opportunity to discover and reveal their spiritual potential. And this is so important. I think it's the most important. Well, actually, all of them are important, but I think this one is so important because we really need to understand that each one of us, despite what you may think about yourself or what you heard about yourself or anything, each one of us has spiritual potential. Exactly as you are, you have spiritual potential because each one of us is an individualized expression of the divine. Exactly as you are. Really important to understand that. And because we know this, then it is our responsibility, it is our privilege to discover and reveal that potential. Otherwise, we just go through life feeling as if life is happening to us and making us victims, and we're just, we're subject to the whims of fate. And that just simply isn't true. The second one we went through last week was by the example of our lives. We demonstrate self-responsibility, integrity, and intentional co-creation. And if you recall, we spent a lot of time talking about this message from Gandhi, who said, "My life is my message." In other words, who am I? And how am I showing up in the world? Do I walk my talk? Do I practice what I preach? Do I take personal responsibility for not only my actions, but also for the choices that I make in life? What kind of a life am I co-creating with my thoughts and my beliefs and my actions and my deeds? And last but not least, it really goes with this, is can everyone in my life know what I stand for by observing my life and my choices and my actions? We were talking about this in our E-squared class on Tuesday night. If you want to know what your consciousness is in life, if you want to know what your message is, look at your life. If you want to know what your message is in life, look at your life, because it is a direct reflection. So I could go off on a whole tangent again about this, because every one of these principles could be a series of talks all in themselves. Oh, I'm not going to do it. They're meaty, right? They're profound. They're offering us great guidance on how to live a spiritually based life. And that's also true for today's guiding principle, which is using science of mind principles. Don't get hung up on the word science of mind. It's not Scientology. It's not Christian Science. It's the name of our teaching called the Science of Mind. So, using science of mind principles, we create an awareness and demonstration of infinite possibility. Now, because I named my talk to infinity and beyond, let's begin with exploring that word infinite. Because for many of us, especially in this teaching, we use that word a lot. We use infinite a lot. It speaks of vastness and limitlessness. We even use it as one of our names for God. We call God the infinite. So we think we understand it. But the question is, do we really understand it? Do we really understand what is meant by the word infinite or infinity? Some of the synonyms for that word: immeasurable, endless, countless, unlimited, vast, unbounded. The dictionary defines it as limitless or endless in space, extent, or size. Impossible to measure or calculate. So the truth is, we cannot possibly fathom what it really is, what infinity really is, because we are trying to fathom it with our finite minds. So our finite minds are trying to understand the infinite. And the truth is, we just can't do it, because whatever we think it is like, oh yeah, I get it. And it's more than that. It's infinitely more than that. It goes on forever. It is limitless. Several years ago, a video came out that attempted to show the vastness of the universe based on images from the Hubble telescope. And so the video is a little long. It's about 6 minutes, but I factored it in. Don't worry, I factored it into everything. I want to show it because it illustrates in this video much better than if I just tried to find a whole bunch more words that define infinite, okay? So are you willing to play with me with this and watch this video? Okay, we're going to get this going. So here we go. Sound.
Is a big place. We know it instinctively. It resonates on a deep level. We also hear about how big it is every time we go into a planetarium, take an astronomy course, or whenever we just look up at the sky on a clear night. But knowing something is big and being able to visualize it are two different things. When astronomers talk about the size of our universe, they love to use gigantic numbers to explain everything. To astronomers and cosmologists who work with this stuff every day, it makes perfect sense. To them. For the rest of us, though, these numbers are so big, we just end up with a blank stare on our face when we hear them. The problem is, they're just too big to be meaningful, and the study of astronomy is filled with numbers like these. So we go about our daily lives, driving to work, cooking dinner, posting our videos to YouTube, and it's all too easy to forget about the rest of the universe. It's too easy to become caught up in our everyday stuff. After all, we have much better things to do than think about how big the universe is. Let's not be too hard on ourselves, though. I mean, of course the universe matters. It's just that the numbers in astronomy are too darn big to get our heads around. Our brains just aren't wired to visualize big numbers like 47 billion. That's the size of the universe, 47 billion light years in radius. Saying that number, though, doesn't really help, does it? Luckily, an image was taken that can help us see just how big that number is at a glance. In 1995, the Hubble Space Telescope stared for 10 days at a rather unremarkable patch of sky. The results were nothing less than humbling on a universal scale. Thousands of galaxies filled the image. Roughly 3,000 galaxies were detected in a patch of sky that looks completely and utterly empty. Let's take a minute and put this in perspective. We live on a planet, one of 8 in our solar system. We'll miss you, Pluto. These planets orbit a rather unremarkable star. Our star is in a galaxy, one of 500,000 million in the Milky Way. I know, big numbers again, but bear with me. This is the Pinwheel Galaxy in the constellation Ursa Major, a galaxy much like our own. This is the largest and most detailed image of a spiral galaxy ever taken by the Hubble Space Telescope. Every one of these points of light is a star. Every single one. Some are bigger and some are smaller than our sun, but they're all stars. Many of them have planets orbiting around them. Looking at this image, the idea that the Earth may be the only planet in the entire universe that harbors life appears almost absurd. It seems much more likely that there are many more planets like ours. Our galaxy is just one of many in our local group, and there are many, many galaxies. When we look up at the sky, we can see only about 3,000 stars on a clear, dark night. From that, it's easy to think that that's all there is. The universe almost doesn't seem quite so big. Now we know better. The Hubble Deep Field is one of the few examples that help us get our heads around just how big our universe is. The story's not over though. Later, in September 2003, the Hubble did it again. This time, it looked at another unremarkable section of sky and stared at it again for a little over 11 days. They used improved detectors with different filters, and this time, they saw this. This is called the Ultra Deep Field. It represents the farthest we've ever seen into the universe. Over 10,000 galaxies are in this picture. Every single dot, smudge, and smear is an entire galaxy. And each one of these dots has millions and millions of stars. Each star has the possibility of planets orbiting it, each one with the possibility of a civilization. This is what we see when we stare at a blank spot in the sky where nothing appears to be. This is the number of galaxies in nothing. This is a picture of 47 billion light years. It's a picture of how small we are. It is the single most important image ever taken by humanity.
And that's just what we know about. What we've been able to measure with our finite capability. Now, if you're like I was, first time I watched that video, you might be feeling a tad bit insignificant right about now. I mean, how can I think that my life, with my challenges and my successes and my perceptions, count for anything when faced with the infinitude of the universe? Except, the more we understand with our finite minds, with these minds that we have, spiritual beings having this human experience, the more we understand about how the universe works, the more we understand that it is all made of the same stuff. It is all made of the same substance. It all comes from the same essence. From the vastness of space with its myriad of stars and planets and who knows what else is out there, to the grains of sand on just one beach, to the deep oceans that cover our planet, to the cells in our individual bodies. We are all made up of the same stuff. Therefore, we're not separate or insignificant at all. We are part of the all and everything. We are made of it. It lives us. It breathes us. We are it. I'm going to do something that I've never done before on a Sunday. I'm actually going to show another video. Now you may be, but trust me on this one. Again, I could talk and talk and talk about what all of this stuff means, or I could show you this next video, which is fun and entertaining and makes my point. So are you game?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, here we go. Here's another one.
We're all connected to each other, biologically, to the earth, chemically, to the rest of the universe,
I think nature's imagination is so much greater than man's. It's never gonna last.
We live in between universe where things change alright, but according to patterns, rules, or as we call them, laws of nature.
Standing on a corner. Really, I'm just a speck. I'm just a speck compared with a star. The planet is just another speck. To think about all of this, to think about the vast emptiness of space, billions and billions of stars, billions and billions of specks. The beauty of living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together.
across the sea of space, the stars, our orbits. We've traveled this way before, and there is much to be learned. We're all connected to each other, biologically, to the earth, chemically, to the rest of the universe. From the elevated, exhilarating, to the story that we live in a universe which permits the evolution of molecular machine as intricate and subtle as we. I know that the particles in my body are traceable phenomena in the cosmos that makes me want to grab you the string and say, where it is.
The beauty of living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of parts of we are away. The cosmos can know its own. There's this tremendous massive rainfall in space, which is the light bouncing around the room, going from one thing to the other. And there's more really there, really there. You gotta stop and think about the complexity. Really get the play. There's more really there, really there. The inconceivable nature of nature. To think about all of this, to think about the vast emptiness of space, billions and billions of stars, billions and billions of specks. The beauty of living thing is not the atoms that go into it, but the way those atoms are put together. The cosmos is also within us. We're made of parts of we are away. The cosmos can know its own. Across the sea of space, the stars, our others. We've traveled this way before, and there is much to be learned.
You get it? You get it? Made of star stuff. Every time I hear Carl say that phrase that We are the way that the cosmos knows itself. And its power and its intelligence is available to us. But we have to know that it is. We have to accept that it is. Just like today's principle. We create an awareness and a demonstration of infinite possibility. I want you to just think about that. If there is this vastness in the universe that we've just seen, and we're part of it, then that means our possibilities are infinite as well. But the thing that keeps us from demonstrating it or manifesting those possibilities is our own belief. It is our own level of acceptance or non-acceptance that it exists. Because the truth is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, we are surrounded by infinite possibility. It is everywhere. It is in the very essence of where we are and who we are and how we are. But we can only realize it when we open ourselves up and make it welcome. There's another example of infinity. As I was preparing this talk yesterday, I wanted to find an Ernest Holmes quote, because you know, we're the teaching of Ernest Holmes, so I always like to include an Ernest Holmes quote. And he talks prolifically about infinity and things being infinite. And every quote I read, I was like, ooh, I like that one. And ooh, that one's good. Or, oh, maybe I'll use that one. For instance, here's one he said. He said, we are not limited by actual boundaries, but by false ideas about life and by a failure to recognize that we are dealing with the infinite. We are not bound by actual boundaries, but by false ideas and a failure to recognize that we are dealing with the infinite. Everybody go like this, OMG. You know what that means, right? Oh my goodness. It says it all. But then it goes on to say, Ernest Holmes, oh my goodness gracious, if you could realize the tremendous power of attraction that holds everything in its place, then it is yours, this gift. It is the divine birthright of every living soul, but we limit ourselves by thought of limitation. Now we must open up the doors of our consciousness and expand and expand and expand. And no longer think in terms of the backyard lot, but in the terms of the infinite nature, in terms of the universe. So what does all this mean? In everyday, practical terms. This is pretty esoteric out there talk today. It's pretty out there. Pun intended. But unless we have something practical that's going to help us to live more fulfilling lives, and all we did was watch a couple of videos and stretch our minds a little bit. Well, the truth is, stretching our minds a bit is part of it. Exposing ourselves to ideas that are outside of our comfort zone is part of it. Looking at possibilities that may seem impossible and then asking ourselves, could it be true? Is part of it. Questioning what is and asking what could be is also part of it. I mean, think about the things that we take for granted that 100 years ago, 15 years ago would have seemed impossible. Who but a science fiction writer could have ever imagined that we would have access to all of the world's information and communication, as far as we know, all of the world's communication and information in a device that fits in our hand.
What is that?
And yet someone somewhere did imagine that and thought it was possible. They tapped into that infinite wellspring of limitless possibility and became the instrument through which it happened. Is this making sense?
Yeah.
The only difference between us and those people is that they believed in the possibility. They made it welcome in their lives. They opened their imaginations and they took action. They were willing to be conduits through which the infinite intelligence and possibility could be revealed. They didn't allow the limitations of society and race consciousness and precedents and old beliefs and not enoughness and negativity and all that stuff. They didn't keep that from their realizing their spiritual potential.
What is that?
And we can do that too. We can. Note to self, I can do that too. We just have to believe that we can. And take action. Because that's where the demonstration and the manifestation part of the principle comes in. The universe in all of its infinitude can only work for us as it can work through us. We are the instruments. Say that with me. I am the instrument.
I am the instrument.
So let's open ourselves up, shall we? Let's open ourselves up to that infinite possibility and go beyond that. I love you. Thank you for being here today, and so it is.